You can tell a lot about a man by what bothers him. End quote. Take that with you for the rest of your life, because I know you will. For the rest of your life, when you encounter another guy, another man getting upset, getting angry, do what I do. Reduce him to psychology and think, okay, that's the thing that bothers him. Now, what does that say about him? Because what bothers us is ultimately us announcing to the world something to the degree of, this is something I fear, this is something I'm insecure about, this is something that I have still yet to resolve in my life. There's more theories on that, but ultimately it's the uncovering of some sort of sore spot. So imagine this. How many of you are going to be watching a sports game and be in a room with other guys, and another one of those guys actually gets upset on what happens in that ball game? Even me saying it out loud, doesn't that sound so ridiculous? That a grown man, or any human being, would be emotionally affected, that their blood pressure would go up because of what happens on a sports game. That's ridiculous. But yet so many men are affected by that. You can tell a lot about a person by what bothers them. If they could get angry because of some person wearing a uniform, hitting a ball, catching a ball, throwing a ball, and 2 years from now they're going to be wearing a different uniform, that is silly. That is juvenile, and that is ridiculous that men would get upset about that. But we could say this about many things. You know, I'm in Nashville. I drive every day. There are perceptions of people cutting each other off all the time. There are horns honking. There are birds being flipped. There are gestures and cursing going on in cars all around me as people get mad at each other. You can tell a lot about a person by what bothers them. There's a song by Cake. They're based out of Sacramento, where my wife's from, and they have this song where they say it's a long line of cars, and they're talking about what it's like to be in traffic, and they're saying, and this long line of cars is all because of you. You're part of the traffic. You wouldn't be worried about this if you weren't part of the problem. And I think that's what's interesting, is people don't realize I'm allowing myself to get angry and upset. So you definitely can tell a lot about a person by what bothers them. If you've been watching my channel by now, you know that I'm not worried about losing my hair. I'll fully embrace it. If you go back and watch those videos from the spring of this year when I was shaving my hair, the zero guard buzz cut, you knew that that's what I like that the most personally. That's me feeling like, okay, this avatar of the outside reflects the inside. That's who I am. I'm a guy with a shaved head. Okay? So I don't fear going bald. I embrace it, even though I know a zero guard buzz cut won't be the same when I've got a shiny scalp. And maybe I never will have a shiny scalp. But either way, I'm not fearing going bald. You can tell a lot about a person by what bothers them. Hair loss is not something that bothers me. But I guess I can share this story with you. It's been long enough. You know, at work here lately, some of the people I work with have noticed that I don't get emotional. I don't have noticeably bad days. I don't get angry. I just accept that certain things aren't desirable, and I work with what I've got. And that's how they know me. I'm not, while I am theatrical, I'm not emotional. Because I'm so theatrical that I understand emotions so well that to me, it's like, for example, you know, I'm born and raised in Alabama, yet I don't have an obvious Alabama accent. And the reason for that, my mom's from Buffalo, New York, near the Canadian border. She moved to Alabama when she was a teenager. I think that was enough to where, even though if you've seen her in videos before, you know that she has a southern accent. But her parents were from the north. Her grandfather was from Kenosha, Wisconsin, and my grandfather, her father was from Kenosha, Wisconsin. Her mother, my grandmother, was from Buffalo. And those grandparents were around me growing up. They were the grandparents that were very close to me. They were always there for birthdays and holidays. And random times all throughout the year, randomly, I was very close to them. And subconsciously, I heard their accents. So while I did have a southern accent when I was a boy, by the time I got in, like, say, junior high, subconsciously it started going away because I became too aware of I'm surrounded by people that have a southern accent, and my grandparents have northern accents. And I think what happened is, subconsciously, I stopped having an accent because it would be theatrical for me to speak that way, for me to start talking like everybody else from Alabama, or for me to start talking like I'm from the north, like they do up there. It's theatrical to me. I hear it. And that's why I'm telling you about this. You can tell a lot about a person by what bothers them. So have this fun little challenge. Start looking around you and seeing what bothers people, seeing how they reduce themselves to psychology. Okay? So now I'll share the story with you. About a month ago, a couple weeks ago, I was outside. I live in a cul-de-sac. I was outside in the cul-de-sac. My wife was making dinner. I was out there with my kids. We live on a hill that's a cul-de-sac. So my son's on his Razor scooter going down there. I'm sitting in the driveway. I'm watching him. My daughter has one of these, like, I want to call it a Fred Flintstone kind of thing, where like you basically just straddle it, but it doesn't have pedals. But she's only 2.5, so she just kind of like pushes it along like this. And so they're both on the hill. I turn my back like to where I'm at the top of the hill looking down, and I'm kind of supervising, making sure that they're not getting hurt or whatever. Out of nowhere, this, I guess it was like a chocolate lab or something, comes from behind me out of nowhere, charges my 2.5-year-old daughter. And at that point, she was, I don't know, 15 feet away from me. I couldn't get to her quickly enough. Okay? So in that moment, it's like time freezes, and I thought, oh no, what's going to happen? This dog is attacking my little daughter. Well, fortunately, all that happened is, and I even hate this, he pounced her. She falls backwards, already on a slant like this, and hits the back of her head on the asphalt on a grade like this. Fortunately, there was no blood or anything like that, but it definitely scared her, and she definitely bumped the back of her head, and it could have gone a lot worse. Fortunately, the moment she fell backwards, the dog ran back away as quickly as it came. Now, in the moment, I immediately went to go check on my daughter, but then after she was okay, and I took her inside and told my wife what was going to happen, what happened? Yeah, I did. Then I went over, I saw where the dog came from. I could see their house from my house in the neighborhood. And what was funny is it was the same weekend that I had recently done some of those Naughty Nick videos. So I basically embraced the Naughty Nick character to go talk to the guy who let his dog out without a leash that attacked my daughter. So I already had my sunglasses on. I go up to his door, knock on it forcefully. He opens, and what's funny, he was holding the dog like this when he opened the door. Like he couldn't even control the dog, And as he's moving around like this on the front door, in full Naughty Nick mode, it was something to the effect of, and it's all kind of a blur, but it was something to the effect of, your dog just knocked over my daughter. That dog needs to be on a leash. You didn't even know where your dog was. It ran out from your yard, not on a leash, knocked over this little girl. It could have been a lot worse. Thank God she's okay. I don't want to see your dog anymore unless there's a leash on it. Otherwise, this is going to be a problem. Something to that effect. And then I stormed off, and and then he shuts the door. And it's funny because that's not typically me. That's not who I am. That's not what I do. It was very rare for me to act that way. And I guess I can't say that I regret doing it, because ultimately what I had to go up to his door. Excuse me, but your dog knocked over my daughter, so could you keep it on a leash? No. I was like, for me, anything less than me being Naughty Nick basically was what I needed to do. And it's not like I threatened him, but I told him exactly what the facts were. And I didn't put emotion in it. I said, here's what happened. From now on, this needs to be the case. Otherwise, this will be a problem. So I had kind of a past, present, future situation stating facts. Not saying, you're an idiot. Never said anything like that. I just told him the facts very forcefully. So ultimately, I tell you that story to reflect the fact of, yes, I can get emotional. And yes, certain things bother me. But comparatively speaking, to all the other men who get upset about sports games, who get upset about traffic, who get upset when things don't go their way, I'm not like most men. I control my own emotions. And in certain events, I can harness my own emotions and use that to my benefit. But even then, I wasn't getting so emotional that I was calling him names or cursing at him or things like that. I was being very factual with what I said. So I tell you that story because it proves my point. You can tell a lot about a person by what bothers them. What are your thoughts right here?